that time again. Time for some real talk about real issues to enhance your real life. Whatever you think, whatever you know, whatever you feel, Tanya doesn't mind talking about it. Get ready for some real talk that is always rated R, because Talk with Tanya has got to be relevant. Talk with Tanya has got to be refreshing. But most importantly, Talk with Tanya has got to be real. Tune in right now for Real Talk with Tanya White.
Welcome once again, my listeners, to the Real Talk with Tanya White show. A new season is going to be September. Fall is coming, and we got a fantastic lineup today to kick off the new season. We have an oldie but a goodie, I might say. He used to be on Real Talk when Real Talk was on Blog Talk, but now he's on in Real Talk with 2025. Hasani Pettiford. We're going to be talking about how to have healthy relationships in an unhealthy society. Welcome once again, Hasani.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time.
Look, we still look wonderful.
Man.
17 years.
Yes, it's been quite some time.
Yes, but I've been following you, and you have been on our screens in our world. Continue to talking about relationships and how to have healthy lives all together. So, give us a brief snapshot of who you are.
Well, once again, Hasani Pettiford. For the last 18 years, I have been a marriage counselor, an infidelity recovery specialist. I'm the co-founder of Couples Academy, which is a private practice that primarily focuses on affair recovery and divorce prevention. So about 90% of the couples that we work with are couples in crisis, those on the verge of divorce, those impacted by an affair who are trying to figure out how to navigate through that. I've written 18 books. We do retreats and intensives specifically all over the world, and just love doing what I do. This is the space that God has given me, and I'm excited to be in it.
You have been doing it well for decades, and so I know this is not on my list of questions, but affair recovery.
Mm-hmm.
That is something that's a new language, but not a new word. Is it possible? Because a lot of people think that after a relationship suffers an affair, that reconciliation and healing is not possible.
Well, if that were not possible, I wouldn't be in this space for almost 2 decades now. And to your point, infidelity has been around since the beginning of time, since there was marriage, right? So it's always been an issue and a problem. I think that unfortunately, the industry hasn't always been prepared to deal with such a crisis. So what happens is when people do get help, they wind up looking for the right help, but they go to the wrong people to get it. And they're wrong, not because they're bad people. It may be because they're not trained, they're not certified, they haven't gone through a process, or they don't take a couple through a proper restoration process. And so people feel like there is no hope. And so they are tempted to throw in the towel and call it quits because nothing's changing. But over the last 18 years, we have created such a comprehensive process that has made a tremendous amount of impact in the lives of people. So people become believers. And it's a necessary work. More people need to be doing it because infidelity isn't going anywhere.
It is not. And that leads me into my second question, because society has created a norm for us to not only cope with unhealthy relationships, but kind of seek them out. Correct? So, what has kept you grounded to remain true to who you are and really do the work that promotes the opposite of what society tells us?
Well, society will always shift and change in its beliefs. There will be trends that come and go, cultural norms that shift over time. But I'm grounded and founded in God. And marriage specifically is not a social construct. It's not a political agenda. It is not a human creation. It was created by God. And so because he hasn't changed, I haven't changed, nor has my position. And so regardless of what we see in the world, you know, uh, my principles that guide my life are the things that we teach from, that have helped so many other couples kind of overcome the challenges that they face. So, being grounded in God is really the answer to that question.
Being, that's it. And it's the only answer. Now, every man and woman says, "Oh, I'm looking for a healthy, happy, whole relationship."
Hmm.
But sometimes we do the opposite, right?
Hmm.
Identify three reasons why people end up and stay in unhealthy relationships.
I mean, this is really an exhaustive list, right? I can go down so many different angles with this, but in a general sense, why do people stay in unhealthy or bad relationships? Number one, it could be the fear of being alone. Like many individuals believe that being with someone, anyone, is better than being alone. And loneliness and societal pressure and the fear of starting over can drive people to ignore red flags and stay in toxic dynamics simply to avoid the discomfort or just being in a space where they're all by themselves. So that fear will either stifle people or drive them into bad behaviors.
Mm.
Number two, I would say there's a lot of people, whether they admit it or not, who struggle with low self esteem or some type of unresolved trauma, right?
Mhm.
So when someone struggles with self esteem or carries wounds from their past, particularly from childhood or previous relationships, they may feel undeserving of something better.
Yeah.
And this mindset can cause them to accept mistreatment and thinking about, the best that they can get. And that's what I have right now. And if I leave this, things only go down from here. So it's hard to love someone if you don't love yourself.
Mm.
It's hard to receive healthy love if you don't love yourself. This is why we say the goal really should be to become the best version of yourself. We believe that relational restoration
Mm.
happens when you focus on your personal transformation. And
Woo! Say that again, Hasani.
your relational restoration is based upon, founded upon your personal transformation. And as
Mm.
I deal with my self-worth issues and my unresolved trauma, and I heal from those places, now I become whole and complete. And now I begin to attract healthy people into my life, thus having healthy relationships.
Oh my goodness, y'all better rewind this show for that nugget of wisdom. Now, Hassani, you let me when you was talking about self love and getting over trauma. Society makes us think, and that self love, getting over trauma, restoring ourselves, being having low self esteem is just a female trait. But over the years, as a school counselor and life coach, I've found out that men deal with that as
Mm.
well. Um, how does a man really, first of all, come to terms with, hey, I may be suffering from low self esteem, because it takes two to tango.
Mhm.
And when you keep repeating, it's not, oh, there's no good women out here and no good men. You have to look at self, the common denominator. And most time men do not do that. Why is that? Is it that we have not allowed them to, deal with self, or what is it?
I think it's a number of things. Number one, men are raised, trained, socialized, and indoctrinated to not focus on their inner self.
Mm.
We as men identify more with our physicality, so the external expression of who we are. When you think about the emotional, the emotional and the spiritual, those are the two things that we struggle to identify with the most. And
Mhm.
if we're not emotionally in tune with ourselves, it's hard to emotionally connect with other people. And
Yes.
so we're trained to be hard, to suppress, to not cry, to not deal with issues, to toughen up, to just take it on the chin and keep moving on. So we have lived a life of self-denial, of
Mm.
self-cancellation. And as a result of that, we've brought toxicity
Mm.
into other people's lives because we are struggling internally within ourselves. And so to admit that I'm wrong, to admit that I have faults and flaws, goes against the wiring of our ego, right?
Mm.
So there's a
Mm.
lot of things that men do battle with and struggle with that is hard for them to form their mouth to articulate and to be honest about. But we are starting to see a shift where men are going to therapy and going to
Yeah.
counseling, and there's groups and events that are really dedicated to empowering men and helping
Mhm.
them to step into their whole holistic self. So
Mhm.
it's a long journey, but that process is starting to happen.
It's very much starting to happen, especially when we talk about mental wellness and self-care. I know in my area there are a lot of events and focus on particularly the Black male dealing with trauma over and healing from that. So it is shifting. How can we increase the shift, or not increase the shift, but increase the awareness and make men feel more comfortable with seeking help and dealing with their inner self?
When men become more bold and live out loud. See, here's the fact of the matter. Every man needs a man. Period, point blank.
Yeah.
Thing to hear a woman tell me that I need to work on myself. I may be offended, I may shut down, I may be resistant. But when I see another man who becomes a model that I can now mirror, I believe that it's now okay, that it's not a shot to my masculinity, that it doesn't somehow take away from my manliness. So there are a lot of societal norms and double standards that have made it difficult for men to be vulnerable and to open up, because vulnerability means being emotionally naked. Now, as a man, I have no problem getting physically naked, right?
Yeah.
We're trained to do that, but emotionally naked. So I rather share my penis than my heart.
Yes.
I'd rather reveal my physicality than my emotionality. And so I think when more men step up and say that it's okay and talk about their struggle and how they overcame it, I think it gives men a pathway to do the same.
So men become more bold. Women, mothers, sisters, wives, you continue to do what you do, but it's not until a man sees a man that he can mirror, is what I hear you say. That helps that. So we got to create that space in those men out there who are bold and getting self-care. Just stand up, become even more courageous. Now, tell us about your Couples Academy. You have programs called Irresistible Husband, first of all. Tell us about that, Hasani.
Well, it's called Irreplaceable Husband.
Irreplaceable? I didn't type it wrong.
Irreplaceable Husband.
Count it over because I'm 54. Okay. I probably didn't have on my glasses.
No, it's okay. So Couples Academy, obviously we deal with couples, but there's a three-pronged approach where we focus on your marital recovery, your individual recovery, as well as the affair recovery. So when dealing with the individual recovery, that means that we had to create a program specific for women, wives, and a program specifically for men, husbands. And so if you look at the statistics, the divorce statistics, I think it's like 70 to 97% of all divorces are initiated by women. So they're the ones pursuing divorce and replacing their husbands for someone else. And so the program Irreplaceable Husbands is teaching men how to be the husbands that they were wed to be. When you get men alone in their own social space, they will admit oftentimes, I have no clue what I'm doing. Matter of fact, I don't even know what it means to be a man, let alone a husband. And so this role and this duty and this responsibility, I fall short because I don't know what it looks like. So we're training men to be husbands, and it's a focus on how to love, how to treat, how to take care of that wife. And when you become undeniable in specific things required in that home, you ultimately become irreplaceable. So our tagline is, I am undeniable and irreplaceable. And so just like we have this program for men, we have a similar program for the wives.
Wow. Undeniable to irreplaceable. And that is so true. And I heard you say, and you didn't say specifically, but it's okay not to know some things, correct?
Absolutely.
We got to learn how to admit that and not see that as a weakness, but as a strength. I tell people, because as I'm maturing, I'm like, I just don't know. I could find out for you, but I don't know. And that's the most freeing thing that I learned how to implement in my life, saying I don't know. So especially
it's honest. It's honest. And if you can admit that you don't know, then that means that you're teachable and coachable, because there should be a desire to know. Like, first of all, I don't have to be a know-it-all. I don't have to know everything. But if I don't know certain things, And I realized maybe this would enhance me. I'm going to search out wisdom in other people, in other resources to gain that level of knowledge. I think it's ignorant when you act as if you do know and you don't know, and then everybody who's connected to you suffers from your ego, from your arrogance, and from your ignorance.
Lord, and you done touched on something about going into the workplace. Lord, have mercy. Dealing with that right now. Listen, people, a great boss wants you to say, I don't know. Because there's nothing worse than an employee and you give them a task and you say, yep, I got it. Then days later, it's like, what? And they keep going in a circle. Just say, I don't know. Because I can help you as a leader.
We save time, we save money, we save resources the sooner you tell me you don't know.
Yes.
I can invest in the right thing to empower you to become who you need to be in that role.
Yes. And trust. Because if I keep asking you the same one, you say, I got it, and you really don't have it, and it shows, then you've broken a level of trust. Share some other services and events from Couples Academy that you have to offer, and give us your website, because I don't want to get that wrong.
So first of all, go to couplesacademy.org, couplesacademy.org, or my brand new website, HasaniPettiford.com. Okay. Similar services, but it's more of a focus on me as a personality and all the other things that I'm doing in addition to coaching. But of course, it's interesting. You know, we have over 1,300 videos on YouTube. We've been doing this work for years. I'm on television. I've written books. But people are just, oh, you're a counselor? I didn't know that. That's the primary thing we do. And so if you're seeking help for your relationship, reach out to us, because we do couple sessions, but we really specialize in intensives. Really quickly, what's the difference between an intensive and a retreat? A retreat is when you go away for a weekend and a nice destination, and you enjoy the beautiful weather, and you have a couple of sessions throughout the course of the day, and you have hours and hours of a break to connect, and you get inspirational information. Hopefully it makes a difference. And that's nice, and there's a place for that. But we specialize in intensives, and an intensive is a 3-day minimum experience where we're in sessions for 12 hours a day. Oh, wow. Really digging in deep, dealing with crisis and trauma and a path to healing and restoration. And we've noticed that when people choose an intensive process as opposed to the traditional weekly, hourly session, they get more done in less period of time with less effort. If you're in a relational hell, like literally every single day, and you take a 1-hour break called a counseling session to talk about it, and then ran out of time, see you next week, and you're thrusted into another 7 days of hell. This is why there is something called premature termination, where the average couple quits counseling anywhere between the 2nd and the 5th session, because it's not happening fast enough. I'm not seeing change quick enough. Well, you have 168 hours in a week, and you spend one talking about your marriage. The numbers don't work in your favor. So a full immersion type of experience really works well for a lot of couples.
Ooh, just immerse. And you have to really be ready to deal with the ugly truths and even the lovely truths about your relationship, yourself, and how to move forward. Now, quickly, Hasani, thank you so much for being on here. But we see you on TV now again. And listen, Caught in the Act. Now, I'm a fan of Caught in the Act, Unfaithful with Tamar Roman. And then, lo and behold, my girl Tamar came on here, and then I was watching it, and then I saw you. I said, Hasani. And what I love about you is that you're so calming, and that you are so real and relevant and in tune with each one. Tell us about why this is a must-see show, and give us tips on how we can detect, because listen, this is art imitating life.
This is true. Well, first of all, the show, it isn't just entertainment. It's really a mirror, and it pulls back the curtain on the secret struggles happening in relationships every single day. And so you'll see real people wrestle with betrayal and deception and difficult questions that they have to answer. And you'll watch how these moments are handled with honesty, with compassion, and with wisdom
Mm-hmm.
And it's, many people think, well, it's reality TV, it's scripted. These are real life situations, with lessons that are relevant to anybody who's in a relationship, not just romantic, but it could be parent child, it could be friends, it could be siblings, it could be anything. And so it's refreshing that it's not just ratchet reality, but
Yes.
it does give hope to those who are experiencing heartache. And
Mm-hmm.
so it exposes the double life that people live in. So you're saying give some tips to kind of detect if someone's living a double life?
Yeah. We
Okay.
already know them, though. I know we do.
First of all, you got to start paying attention to patterns,
Yes.
not just promises,
Mm.
not what people say. You got to pay attention to what people do, their patterns. And usually you'll find that there's inconsistencies oftentimes in their stories. So their words and their timelines just don't add up,
Yeah.
right? You have certain people who are suddenly secret, or they're very guarded in their behavior. And so they hide their phone, they change their passwords, they become overly protective over time. It's like, where did this come from? What's going on? Some people become emotionally distant, right? Or maybe they experience mood swings where they present one moment in one way and then they detach the other without explanation. And it's just confusing.
Yeah.
What about unexplained expenses, right? Money going missing or lifestyle changes beginning to take place, and there's no rational explanation for it. But what I would say is you gotta trust your intuition,
Mm-hmm.
because it is an alarm that will ring on the inside of you, and you will get this gut sense that you cannot ignore. And if you have that feeling, follow it,
Yep.
follow it. And before you, in my opinion, a lot of times people have hunches and people have ideas and they see something that's out of place. And what they do is they confront a person. And then what happens is that person completely denies, they lie. And it's just like you didn't have enough research, you didn't have enough evidence to support your claim. So you have to be patient,
Mm-hmm.
you have to act naive, or
Yes.
play detective.
Play detective.
And as all the pieces come together, then you present a case that becomes undeniable.
Undeniable. One thing I love about Double Life is that it's you on there. And in the midst of all the hype, and I feel the emotion, but you remain calm and you remain like, let's have a conversation, because you're not listening to communication. We need to dig deeper. How do you, because I'm like, especially with the one, my most one that impacted me most was with the family of the sister daughter who was gambling, had a gambling addiction. Why? Because I saw my family in that. It wasn't gambling addiction, it was another type. But you said something, y'all have to listen. You have to listen to the other side without attacking. How do you remain that the calming center in the midst, especially when y'all come in somebody's house and confront them and everything's going? How do you remain like the calming center?
It's interesting. A lot of people have made that comment about how calming I am. And I've never known that about myself or heard that comment until this show, where I'm able to see myself. And I guess I'm the calm in the midst of all the crazy. But just from a communication perspective, when you become highly emotional, you become irrational, because there's no logic in emotions. They're two polar opposites. And so in order for you to have a healthy conversation where you hear each other, you've got to, as someone would say, lower the emotional volume and raise your emotional intelligence. And you have to create a safe environment in order for people to engage and resolve conflict. And you can't do it when you're caught up in your feelings and your emotions. It just does not work.
It does not work. And you're wonderful on that show. Y'all watch it, because I need a season 2, 3, and 4. It reminds me of Iyanla's when she first came out with Starting Over. This is what Double Life reminds me of CAUGHT in the Act. Hasani, thank you so much. We're out of time, but you will be back. I hope, because I got to talk about communication in the workplace.
I would love to do that. And listen, before I go, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Continue to watch the Tanya White Show. But if you have experienced betrayal, or if you're trying to figure out how to avoid it, please, I just released this book, Moving Forward After Infidelity. From Discovery to Recovery. It is a thick 400-page manual that will guide you through a healing process if you have experienced it or if you're trying to prevent it. You can go on Amazon and get that. I put my blood, sweat, and tears and 18 years of my life into that book, and it's really doing a whole lot for people.
So now I have to invite you back, and we're going to talk specifically about your book. Say it again so we can get it.
Moving Forward After Infidelity, From Discovery to Recovery.
From Discovery to Recovery. And it's a lot of people who need to do that. Hasani, thank you so much for your decades of work. Thank you for your spirit in on this show and all that you do, continue to do. Real Talk with Tanya White. Y'all better listen for this show. Get with Hasani, watch the show. And if you're experiencing infidelity, get his book, Moving Forward After Infidelity. From the what?
Discovery to Recovery.
Listen, Real Talk with Tanya White. We're going to have a September to remember. Listen to each show. Until next time, like I always say, love your life, live your life, and laugh through your life.